Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Jason Dean, president of Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance, and we're going to be talking about what we're doing for the March for Life and a dance party. It's called a Soiree, which I had to look up on Google and find out that was a dance party because I didn't know what that word was. And so, Jason, maybe you could tell me what was the origin of this idea of the soiree?
Well, we wanted to get together some alternate pro-life groups and something close to the March for Life. We've done the march several years, but really haven't had our own event. We've piggybacked on other people's events, but not had our own. So that's kind of what inspired our first thoughts about doing something.
Okay, so we wanted something fun we could do while we're there for the March for Life too,
Yeah.
and that sounds good. Now I have never been to the March for Life yet. This could be my first time ever in my life to go because we're planning for me to go with you.
Mhm.
Um, so. What should I expect, as well as anybody else who has never gone to the March for Life? What would they expect? Like, what's the outline? What typically happens?
Well, at the march, the alternative pro-life groups usually kind of coalesce, if you will, best we can. And we pick a meeting spot, and I'm not sure where that is this year, but we will get the word out. Well, when you come to our event, the soiree the evening before. So that's part one. There'll be a ton of people. It varies, but like hundreds of thousands. So if you haven't been around a huge crowd before, this is going to be it. So it's fun. It's a little might be scary for some. The first time I went, I was a little bit kind of deer in the headlights, because little Kansas boy here, not used to having a couple 100,000 people close together like that. So, and then there's actual march, a parade, and we used to end up. We started like at the Lincoln Memorial and went to the Supreme Court building. And this year, frankly, I don't remember exactly, but there'll be a parade route, and then at the end, there'll be speakers and so forth for that event. So, but that's all the pro lifers. There's a lot of young people, a lot of different like college groups and high school groups that go. You'll see a lot of diversity. There's a lot of Catholic groups and Christian groups, but you'll see some vegans for life and of course we'll be there and secular pro life and Jewish for life and Buddhist for life. There's a lot of neat people there that you'll meet, and it's just I think you'd have a really good time. But it's January, so dress warm. It's gonna be outside.
Yeah, it's going to be cold in January. And I like this idea because there's going to be people from all over the country, people of different religious and political backgrounds. And I think it's good because people get in their own bubble, only the people that they know. And it's good to meet people who are different. And not that long ago, in fact, this is actually very relevant. There's this I think it's called Dank Pro-Life Memes. You may be aware of it. It's like this Facebook page where they share all these memes with the pro-life message and stuff. And there was some guy on there who was trying to ask the question about how does like an atheist ground their moral framework to say that killing innocent babies is wrong or something like that. So basic
Yeah.
paraphrase there. And there were a lot of interesting responses, and I just think it's interesting because a lot of times people are only understanding pro-life from their unique religious or political perspective or their moral framework. And as somebody who's actually studied moral frameworks, as somebody who used to listen to a lot of philosophy podcasts, who has read books from philosophers on things, and I still can't remember all the terminology, but it's good to expose yourself to other people with a different line of thinking. And when you start seeing that you can have the Buddhists and the Jews and the Muslims and the Christians and the atheists, but they can all agree on pro-life, That to me is a beautiful thing because far too often, as I'm sure you're aware, people they first try to convert people to their religion so they can use their religion to explain their pro-life position. And
Yeah.
if your pro-life stance requires teaching somebody an entire moral framework first, it's probably not going to be very convincing. In fact, that would almost be like me if I tried to teach computer programming to my mother. And that's not going to work because that you have to have the background in math and you have to understand how to use computers first, then you have to understand the history about how computers work and the memory. There's a lot to go into it. People need to be exposed to people of different religions, political affiliations, and philosophical frameworks and see how other people are pro-life with a totally different perspective. Because just as some examples, a Christian might be pro-life because, well, God said, "Thou shalt not kill" in the Bible, or they believe, well, life is sacred, life comes from God, and that's how they ground it, and that's totally fine. An atheist might, by believing that there's no afterlife, figure this life is more sacred because it's the only life you get. You don't get a second chance. And so to rob somebody of that one chance of life is the ultimate crime under an atheist perspective. And so being able to see within each person's framework, their religious and political framework, how that looks is just helpful. And so I'm excited both to be around different kinds of pro-lifers, but also to be part of a parade because I've never been part of a parade. But that's a lot of walking, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll walk a couple miles for sure. Yeah, just
Okay,
to walk.
I can do that because I like walking, so I'm totally fine with that.
You get lots of exercise every day. Yes, I know.
Yeah, oh, I do. I work at Walmart and I walk everywhere, so
Yeah. Keeps you healthy.
yeah. So maybe you could tell people some more about what we're planning for our soiree, because I know a little bit from the board meetings, but how would you describe it to people who don't know about it yet?
Well, social awards and dancing. That's the three words I would use. So friends, awards, dancing. That summarizes it. We're starting at 7:07 and gonna party on till about 11:11. It's not a typo. It's an alternative event. So expect things to be alternative and not just like, oh, they're LGBT, that makes them alternative. Yes, but there's just some other little quirks and fun things. And I realize some people will rise to the challenge. I've had parties like this before. So if you just say 7 o'clock, people arrive at 7:15, 7:30. Whenever they get around to it, it's seven-ish. I'm like, no, if you say 7:07, there's a few people are going to be there on the dot and say, see, I'm here on time. And so we'll give them a big hug and it'll just be wonderful. So that's the basic plan for the evening. And we're going to have some really heartfelt awards. Some I'm not going to cry right now, but just some really good people in the alternative pro-life movement that need to be recognized. Long time in coming. That's going to be a component of it. There's so many people I've met. I've been pro-life and in the pro-life movement for like 30, 40 years now, but there's so many people I've never met, including you, Chastity. It's like I feel like we're friends, of course, but I've never met these people in person. So there's so many new cool people to meet in person, and of course then the dance. And I'm really excited about the dance because who does dances anymore? Maybe at a wedding, you know. Maybe if you go to a club or something, but that's kind of like, I don't know if you might not know people there, or it could be just hodgepodge of whoever. So this is and it's gonna be a different kind of dance because it's not a wedding, and there's actually a storyline. We're putting together um, a whole a whole story,
Presentation.
presentation around the music. So you're going to be asked again, rise to the occasion, but there's going to be different kinds of moods and throughout the evening. So it's going to be a challenge, maybe, but I think it'll be really fun. And even if you can't dance, it's okay because I really can't either. So it's going to be
I'll be
okay.
the one dancing, Jason.
Yes. If Chastity leads the way, there'll be so much good vibes. I I'm hoping in my brain at least. I think most people are going to dance because you're going to feel left out not to. You'll be like, I'm going to get out there anyway because all these other people are so cool and different. It's all right that I can be different too.
Well, yeah, see, basically, here's how it works. I've got this all planned out. Basically, I dance and I look like a fool, and then the other people who are self-conscious think, well, at least I can't be that bad. And then they start joining, and then everybody has a good time. That's my plan.
Exactly. Although I've seen you dance, and I don't think it's bad. It's good.
Well, thanks.
And I like the music you dance to because we both like 80s music apparently. So there's
Oh
that.
yeah, the 80s and 90s were the best time music-wise and technology-wise, in my opinion.
We agree on that. And there's going to be a diversity of music for sure. But I'm going to tell you, it's a little heavy on the 80s because I helped put it together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's awesome because I like the old music. The good music from the 1900s.
We'll have a lot of different genres and like I said, moods. It's going to be a night to remember. And I hopefully think it's going to be in a good way mostly. There might be a few tears. It's going to be emotional. It might be. That's okay. It's a big part.
Yeah, well, I think that's good because for most of my life, the abortion topic has just been one of complete sadness. Just that this
Yeah.
tragedy is happening. And it's even more frustrating by the fact that people don't seem to care. They don't understand it. Because for a lot of people, it's like out of sight, out of mind. And because they don't view these babies that are being murdered as people, they don't see them. It's like, well, if I don't see them, they must not be real, you
Mhm.
know? And I found that frustrating, but to be surrounded by other people who see the value in these lives, like I do, means I don't have to be on edge and be like, oh well, there's all these people who they're hostile, to life. They would abort me if they had the chance. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how I feel around a lot of people. Like I can't make friends with people who I know would kill me if they had the chance. You know,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it's like, for example, um, one time I was at Walmart and there's this guy, he always talks about eating meat, like he always does. And I asked him if I was a cow, would you eat me? And he said yes. And I'm like, well, therein lies the problem. How can we be friends? Like that's just how it is.
Oh my, yes. Yes. Wow. Yeah. 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 Oh my. Quite a story.
Yeah, well, we are very alternative. Let's just put it that
Yes.
way. Me
We'll have
especially.
vegan options at the party.
Yes.
We're already working on that. So you'll have some vegan options. There'll be some non-vegan options too. So, my husband's a vegetarian because he respects vegetables. He doesn't eat them. So he has to eat something, but that's a different story. um, so yeah,
What?
yeah. That's what he calls himself, a vegetarian, because he respects vegetables. So he eats meat instead. But
Okay, I never heard
everyone's a
that
little different.
before.
Yeah, because he came up with it.
Well,
Everyone's a
I
little
call
different.
myself a pirate of the vegetarian.
Oh, really? Okay. Why are you a pirate?
Yeah. Arr.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, heartfelt music, awards, dancing. It's gonna be a night. It's gonna be an evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to it so much, and I just hope the travel and everything goes safely, just fine.
Yeah, yeah. January, you never know with the weather. That's true. But we'll have a warm place. for the evening. It's a nice venue. We'll release that, when we got all the ticket sales in, and we'll let everyone know. And yeah, nice, safe place, and close to the March for Life the next day. So not like you have to travel for our event. Hotels real close by, and so yeah, yeah. And that's our first one. Well, we want to do it again. I already want to do it again, and so our first annual soiree, which is the evening party in French, right? Since you looked it up, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're putting together, and you know, things are going to go as smoothly as I can get them, and we still need some volunteers to help with stuff, and so a few things will mess up, and we'll just have to laugh about it as we go through the process, and I'll just drag some people in. I was like, hey, we need help with this, so that's how it's going to be. It's real people, real alternative, and real, we're like you said, abortion is often it's a sad topic, and we have a lot to celebrate in making progress for expanding human rights. Obviously, Roe v. Wade being overturned was a step, certainly not where we want to be yet, but a lot farther than where I thought would be a couple of years ago. So, and so many lives being saved since then. You start thinking about that, and as these people get older and can share their own stories, and know that, yeah, their mom chose life, but it was a close call, you know. And we have stories, from 40, 50 years ago. We've had them for quite some time, but there's gonna be a lot more. So a lot of people that are in difficult situations, and we're able to give them a much better alternative and expand human rights. We've seen our rights, LGBT plus folks, drastically better. We can celebrate that too. I mean,
Yes,
we still have a little
absolutely.
ways to go. We still have a little ways to go, sure. And we need to celebrate. I think we need to celebrate where we've come. Otherwise, you kind of get bogged down thinking, this is where, the negative, which there is reality, and yet we need to celebrate our accomplishments to keep us going.
Yeah, because things slowly change over time. Because at part of the hope is that because new generations do come, they have a chance to learn from the mistakes of their ancestors. That's part of the point here. And I think what's happening is we live in a changing world. The technology is changing, the communication is changing, and so what opinions that young people come to, that shapes the next group of voters, or and the people do whatever they do. So it affects, religion, it affects politics, it affects people's daily lives, how you treat people at your job or elsewhere. And I see that the younger generations, to a certain extent, have become a little bit more love your neighbors yourself, just a little bit. You know what I mean? People have become more accepting of people who are different than them. And part of that's by necessity because there are a lot of different people. It's not like people can just keep their tiny community where everybody is the same as them, agrees with them on everything, because we live in a world with lots of different people and you're going to come across different people. And I think the melting pot is a good thing.
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as LGBT folks that we are, we should know, or do know, that when our rights are being violated or suppressed, it affects everybody, even if they don't. Like you're saying, like the unborn are unseen, basically, unless there's ultrasound, right? And so a lot of people, it's out of sight, out of mind. Do
Yeah,
they exist?
exactly.
Do they not? Who cares? And it's like our philosophy is that whenever human rights are suppressed, the world entire is hurt by that. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's in some remote location, some remote village, some remote group, right? So your rights are suppressed, And they're like, oh, well, those trans people. Oh, well, no, no, no. You might not realize it at the time, of course, because there's a lot of interconnected pieces. But yeah, no, it does. Because when someone's hurt like that, it affects all of society. It affects people's attitudes, how they treat other people.
Hmm.
It's
Well, and let's be real, some of these babies that we're trying to save, they're going to grow up and they're going to be the future gays and the future transgenders, some of them are, you know? And I think it's just important to know that if you're gonna try to save their life at that stage, you also need to care about their lives at later stages because that's the way it should go. And although it's controversial, there does need to be more consistency when how you treat the exact same people, at different stages of their life. Because to try to protect their life before they're born, but then after they're born, to also do things that result in their death, that's not very pro-life. And I think that's something that people do need to be reminded of because the most common criticism pro-lifers get is, "Oh, you only care about life until it's born, and then you don't care," which is not true, of course. Most of us do care about people who are already born as well. But that sometimes when people are not consistent, that criticism can be true in some cases, and that is something for us not to dismiss and to realize that you treat people with the same respect whether they're 3 months in the womb or whether they're 30 years old. They're the same person, you know?
yeah, it works both ways, doesn't it? And so
Yeah.
our criticism sometimes is correct, unfortunately, and the opposite's true too, as far as so they only care about humans after they're born. So the little preborn person that's intersexed and is going to be aborted because of that, they don't
Hmm.
care. I guess it's a question mark. They don't care. They don't care they're being aborted because they're female or because they're intersexed or because they're the wrong race. Uh,
Yeah.
it's one of the most I've seen the most diverse amount of discrimination, if that's the term, that I've seen is with what happens to preborn because there's so many different dis, any sort of disability is a factor. Definitely, like I said, race, gender, and even the LGBT plus community. Yeah, they don't necessarily have tests for if you're lesbian or gay, a genetic test. That's not necessarily a thing, but certainly there is for intersex. Trans, there could be. I don't know what you thought about that, but
Well, actually, yeah. See, from the science that I've heard is they can tell that certain different hormonal levels in the womb can impact certain development, male or female. And then, of course, there's the intersex conditions where people have extra or missing chromosomes affecting different aspects. And most of the time, those children are aborted anyway, who have those genetic disorders because. Like Klinefelter syndrome is a syndrome that causes some people to have an extra X chromosome, but also a Y chromosome. So they're kind of between the boundaries of male and female anyway. But then also is Down syndrome, for example. And that's another condition that people are aborted for. So one of the things that's really this is interesting. It's fascinating to think about is most of the time, these babies with genetic defects, doctors are pressuring children to abort, saying, "Oh, well, your child's going to have this and this and this problem, so you should kill them now," and all that. And these conditions are not as rare as people think they are. It's just that a lot of those who have them are killed before they have a chance at life. And so it just makes you think about how common these things are. And intersex people are about as common as redheads, really.
right, right,
And like there's 2% of the populations that have the genes that cause the red hair and all that. But basically, minorities are kept minorities partly because of discrimination and partly because of abortion. And we know, I'm sure you're aware of this, Jason, and many people have covered this about how Planned Parenthood had targeted Black communities specifically with the intention of aborting more Black babies than white babies. There's a history with, with what even before it was called Planned Parenthood. I forget what the original name was, but Margaret Sanger, and there was a lot of stuff going on where it was a racist agenda. And I
Yeah.
think that's good to keep in mind. That's why abortion is a very intersectional thing because it connects with so many issues. It connects with issues of systemic racism and discrimination against the LGBT people. It's also connected with animal rights too, although not everybody sees it as I do. And I just feel like having a respect for life in general, is something that we have to start with somewhere. And if we're not going to start with the most innocent of all humans who are being killed for not having done anything wrong. Now keep in mind, yes, they will do something wrong if you let them live. That's just the fact about humanity is we make mistakes, obviously.
Mhm.
But to kill somebody who hasn't done anything wrong, to kill the innocent, I feel like that's where people can agree because, for example, not everybody agrees on capital punishment. Not everybody agrees on that. That's a different situation, because there's a difference between somebody being executed, to prevent them from causing future harm to others. I get that. But a baby who has not had a chance to even show us what kind of person they are, to kill the innocent, that takes a special kind of evil, in my opinion.
Yeah. And some of the abortions, they use the digoxin, they use the same chemical to kill death row inmates that they're using to kill preborn children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we're not taking a specific stance on the death penalty, but if you're quasi unsure about that, then it seems like, at least in our world, that you would be really unsure about doing anything to a preborn child.
Yeah. I feel like as long as we have that foundation, that base to agree upon that we should not be killing the innocent, then we can work out the details amongst ourselves on other topics. We don't have to agree on everything, but unless we meet our fellow pro-lifers and have those conversations to go next level on other topics, we'll never get there. And I just think having that foundation, the fact that there's been a March for Life and there are all these pro-life groups from different backgrounds is a very beautiful thing. And I look forward to meeting these people.
Yeah, and I think our diversity actually helps keep people focused because I'd say the those that are for abortion, uh, of one of the many arguments that they go off tangent into something that's nothing to do with killing the preborn, like, oh, you're anti-LGBT, or or you're just based this on religion, or you're just, well, some folks that are pro-life are not LGBT plus affirming, and some of them are, whatever blank. But when you see all of us together collaborating, they were like, well, they have some trans and gays right there in the march with them. So how anti-LGBT are they? And they got some Muslims.
Yeah,
How anti-Muslim are they? And they have some, and we don't agree on everything. Obviously, we don't on every
yeah.
topic. We don't. But we're here for the preborn and their parents, and that's important to us. And so let's focus on that. And if you want to converse with us about that, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to be some great representation of the March for Life.
Yeah. And we need to be bigger and bolder. We're a small voice, as you might know. We're a small
Yeah.
voice. Now the alt pro life community is growing. There's a lot of folks that are secular pro life and progressive anti abortion uprising. There's quite a few groups that are coming about, if I will. which is wonderful. Um, but it's incumbent on us to grow and to make new friends and uh, show our faces and who we are. Yeah, because there's a lot of traditional pro-lifers, quote unquote, that are also part of us. They just haven't come out yet.
That's true. Yeah. In fact, people need to come out as pro-life. There's a lot of people who are afraid to come out as pro-life because we live in a time where that's scarier than coming out as gay.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have to be upfront with people. Like you're probably lose more friends when you come out as pro-life than when you come out as LGBT plus. Just saying.
Yeah.
Probably, probably. That's been our experience at least. So probably. So it's a dangerous endeavor to go upon in some respects, but it's worth it, and it's very meaningful. And it feels like you're part of a real human rights campaign. Another one, I should say. I don't want to disparage the other ones, but you're part of another human rights campaign and a very important one of our day that is very undecided, and you really have to stick your neck out to make your point. Um, some other issues, it seems like most people are kind of settled one way or the other on. But this one is kind of split in the country, the nation, maybe the world, right down the middle, isn't it? So it's not easy to take a stand, you know. Some other issues, it's a little more settled, but we're still very controversial, aren't we?
Oh yeah, me especially.
Yes, yes. We'll start with you and work our way down.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it so much. Hopefully everything goes well so we can all get there and meet people and dance and everything.
Yeah, yeah. And you go to rainbowprolife.org, our website, and right at the top right hand side is a link to get your tickets. Just $10 per person. If you are a group or want to help sponsor us, there's lots of different opportunities to scroll through there and you pick what you'd like to do. So it's this really isn't a fundraiser per se. Um, we've raised the funds and now we're sharing our event with all pro-life group, and traditional people are invited as well. um, we're sharing our our space and our time, and I guess you could say our funds to to make this happen. And so, yeah, there's a nominal cost just so you have a little skin in the game. But it's collaboration and meeting new friends, celebrating, rejoicing. We might cry a little. That's what this is about.
All right. Well said, Jason.